What is up, everybody? Welcome back to RacingDudes.com and welcome back to another one of our Kentucky Derby talks. We do this every week. We gave you the top five. We kind of tell you what happened last week, what to look forward to next week. Let's get to the Kentucky Derby. What happened last weekend? So the only prep race was the Rebel Stakes, and I think we all kind of thought, well, this isn't going to be much of a race. And look, I don't think it was great as they ran it, but I will say Timberlake was pretty solid. Maybe he was a little better than we thought he was going to be in that race. I thought he ran very well. He got a 93 buyer. That's on par with what we're kind of seeing from everybody. It was really a never in doubt win for him. And when you're facing a field that's maybe suspect, that's another good thing. So, there are positive things there for sure with him. And look, I think he might get better off of that effort. I don't really know how long he really wants to go. That could be a problem as we get into the longer races. But overall, I thought Timberlake ran pretty well. I think you give him some credit for that win. I ranked him number 7 this week. I did not put him in the top 5, but I did rank him at number 7. I thought it was solid. The other one we got to talk about, and it seems like this is the hype horse right now, is Forever Young, the Japanese, based horse that was able to go over and win the Saudi Derby. I thought it was great. I thought it was a really good performance. I know it was kind of a narrow margin of victory, but look, Bookham Dano is a really good horse, especially at that distance. And Forever Young didn't really get out of the gate very well. It wasn't just a horrible trip or anything, but it wasn't like ideally what you wanted to do or kind of how you want to run on that track. And he was still able to get up and get the job done. Little green in the stretch. So the problems are there, like little green in the stretch and took the whole stretch to catch, Bookham Dano. And maybe you don't think Bookham Dano is that good. You debate that a little bit as well. Didn't get out of the gate well. Problems, right? However, we're going to see him next in the UAE Derby. That's kind of what he wants to do. He's going to go longer. He's going to get 2 turns, all that kind of stuff. So for me, it's like I'm not really worried about anything until we see him in that race. He did what he probably needed to do, just win the Saudi Derby. So I'll make a huge judgment on him one way or the other in the UAE Derby. But I'll put Forever Young at number 9 this week in the rankings. I'm not that guy that's going to rank him number 1 just yet or even really rank him in the top 5. Because I really want to see what he does in that race. I remember when Derma Sotogate won that race. By the way, he lost this in the Saudi Derby, which is another reason why I don't really take that race very seriously. But when Derma Sotogate ran off in the UAE Derby, then I was like, he's a top 5 contender, right? And it's kind of what I'm going to do with Forever Young. I wouldn't be shocked if he ends up being like the number 1, 2, 3 horse on my list. But let's wait. Let's let him kind of prove it. That's kind of what I did with Locked as well. I don't have it locked in the top 5. I've got him number 6 this week. It's the same type of thing, and we'll talk about what's going to happen this coming weekend. But let's kind of let him prove it. Let's let him get a race as a 3-year-old and kind of prove where he's at this moment. So those were the 2 big things, Timberlake at the Rebel and then the Saudi Derby, of course, with Forever Young that we just talked about. All right, let's do the top 5, and then we will go over what's going to happen this coming week. Top 5 for me, it's unchanged from last week. So number 5 for me is Catching Freedom. This horse ran a solid 3rd in the Risen Star Stakes. I think he's getting better. I think he's green, and I think that's the big problem with him. He may have won the Risen Star if he wasn't kind of drifting in and out, so I'm a little bit worried about that. You got to work to correct it. Obviously they are. We'll see if he can. So number 5, Catching Freedom for me this week. Number 4, Mystic Dan. Just don't know what he's going to be on a dry track, but on a sloppy track on Southwest Day. He earned a 101 buyer, or he's assigned a 101 buyer, I should say, which was fantastic. That's way up there other than Nisos, right, who we're not talking about in this video. So, if he can repeat that in the Arkansas Derby, he's going to be like maybe the favorite, right, if he can go back-to-back 100 buyers. So, but is he going to be able to do it? That's a huge question mark. He's been very inconsistent. We've seen him not run very well. He's just kind of a wait and see at this point until the Arkansas Derby. Number 3, Track Phantom. I think he's the most consistent horse so far on the trail as far as, 2 wins down at Fairgrounds in a second. He ran really well in that race. It just was what it was. He got second and he got caught late. It was a sloppy track and, maybe he got a little tired. We'll see. But I still think he deserves to be up here with his consistency and kind of his running style. He's still one to really keep an eye on here. So number 3 for me, Track Phantom. Number 2 is Dornock. He beat the number 1 horse that I have on the list, And maybe if Dornock, well, I don't think maybe, if Dornock does go on and win the Fountain of Youth this weekend, he'll be right back up there to number 1 for me. But, I think right now he hadn't ran as a 3-year-old yet. Let's let him prove it. This will be the proving ground, the Fountain of Youth. If he wins, maybe he can move up to number 1. If he loses, who knows where he's going to drop. But that's a big weekend coming up for him. But obviously, beating Sierra Leone last time out in the Rims and Stakes, re-rallying and getting it done. He's shown a ton of talent. So I've got him at number 2. And then number 1, Sierra Leone. Look out for Sierra Leone here. This is a horse that just continues to get better with each race. I thought his race last time out was really good, kind of a no pace in that race, and he was still able to rally and win the Risen Star Stakes. Why I have him number 1, though, really not what we've seen before, but my confidence in what I'm going to see from now moving forward. We've seen Chad Brown really progress his horses on the Kentucky Derby Trail, and that big progression does usually happen at the Bluegrass Stakes. We've seen it with Good Magic. We've seen it with Highly Motivated, a horse a lot of people forget almost won the Bluegrass over, a horse that, I mean, in my opinion, was probably the best in the crop that year. And so anyway, and then we saw it also with Zandon as well. That's 3 times we've seen it. I think we'll see it again with Sierra Leone in the Bluegrass. I think he'll show up and run very well. So I've got him at number 1. We'll see what happens. All right, let's get to this week. We've got a lot going on. Let me pull up the list right now, actually, and read them to you there's some horses that have been entered and some we just have probables on, but I'll go ahead and read the probables now. It's a 4 prep weekend. And there's also, we got the big 3, the Fountain of Youth, the Gotham, and the San Felipe, but we also have the Battaglia as well. So it's a big weekend here for Derby prepping horses. So the Gotham has not been drawn yet. Here are the probables or the possibles. Just a touch. Kane, Speedrunner, Maximus Meritus, I don't know that one, Deterministic, Antonio of Venice, Deposition, El Grande O, Virgin, Air Cav, Capital Idea, Fascinda, I don't know that one, Eliminate, and Light Line. So those are the ones there. And the Gotham, obviously, you're not going to be shocked if that looks a little weak, right? But that's the probables there for that one. We'll see. That's, remember, a 1-turn mile, so we'll see kind of what that leads to. The San Felipe, the possibles / probables here are Wind Me Up, Scatify, Imagination, Island Cruiser, Blue-Eyed George, Coach Prime, McVeigh, Winstock, Muth, Moonlit Sonata, Cornell, and Tapalo. Now, remember, Baffert, I think, has like 6 of those. I don't think he'll run 6 of them. So some of those are not going to run in it, but that's kind of what the list is right now. The Fountain of Youth has been entered. Les Dames Bro, Dornock, Merritt, Locked, Speakeasy, Victory Avenue, Frankie's Empire, Real Macho, and Dancing Groom. That's your Fountain of Youth field. That is officially they've been entered in that race. Now, one thing I will tell you, Merritt and Speakeasy also cross-entered in an allowance on Friday. So that'll be kind of interesting to see where, who goes where. So we'll see what happens in that one. Also, a bunch of horses for the Battaglia as well. Kind of not as serious of a prep race as the other 3, but still, you better keep an eye on Turfway for the next one for sure, because that's had a lot of impact, of course, with Rich Strike, but, last year as well had a big impact on the race. It's a 2nd place finisher. The horse who won the Jeff Ruby Stakes was 2nd in the Kentucky Derby, 2 fills. So keep an eye on that as well. All right, that'll do it for the Kentucky Derby update this week. We'll be back next week with another update, and it'll be a lot of changes because we've got, like I said, those 4 prep races. Going to be very fun to kind of follow those and see what happens. The Fountain of Youth, I thought drew well. I think that's a really fun race. I think it's interesting. I think there's some potential in there. And, these probables, maybe not so much for the Gotham, but the probables for the San Felipe, I don't know if we'll know anything Derby-wise, but it's going to be a good race for sure. So, all right. Thanks everybody for watching this video. Hit the like button if you like it. Hit subscribe. You really like it. Want to get alert anytime we do videos like this. And most importantly, come back right here next week for another Kentucky Derby update.